Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel and a hastily convened conference with one of my favourite guests. He was on a couple of weeks ago doing financial stuff, and his phone is currently melting on the sofa beside him because Birmingham City have just been deducted 9 points. We'll go into that in a minute, but welcome, Kieran Maguire of Price of Football. How are you doing, Kieran?
I'm sound as a pound. As you say, things are a tad busy at present. A few clubs have been announcing their results. We've had the Bolton nearly going into administration, and now Birmingham just come out today.
Amazing. Right, let's focus on Birmingham. Just thank you very much because I'm sure you're going to do about 20 of these in the next 4 hours, aren't you? So we knew this was going to happen, Kieran. Blues deducted 9 points for a breach and then an aggravated breach of FFP rules. They have dropped from 50 to 41 points, so from 13th down to 18th. We'll talk about this. A kind of convenient place to drop to. 5 points above the relegation group. First of all, what are the rules and what have they done wrong?
The rules are as follows. Under the EFL profitability and sustainability rules, which is a posh word for FFP, clubs are allowed to lose £39 million over a 3-year period. Now it's without getting into the accounting nerdiness. That's an FFP loss, which tends to be more generous than the accounting loss.
This is good money, isn't it?
This is good money. Yeah. So if they spend money on academy, women's football, community schemes, that's ignored. But even so, Birmingham's losses went shooting up. That they under the old ownership, who weren't prepared to put money into the club, they were trying to break even as best they could because there was nothing else to do. They didn't have any choice. But the new owners have come in and they've just said go for it. And because the club's not been successful in terms of its recruitment, the wages went through the roof. They started to sign players like they hadn't been doing previously, big loan signings, big Bosman signings such as David Stockdale. And as a result of that, the losses have exceeded the limits of FFP. And then they were given what's referred to as a soft embargo, where the EFL says, look, we don't want to go and publicise this, which I don't think is very wise of the EFL because it just leads to rumours. But under a soft embargo, you are not allowed to sign players for fees, but you can recruit them provided you don't pay them more than £600,000 a year, which to you and me sounds pretty good money, but by championship standards is moderate. It's not anywhere near the level being paid by the top clubs. And by signing Pedersen for 2.4 million during this period of the soft embargo, this angered the EFL, and what's more, it's angered all the other clubs who we think were under a soft embargo at the same time.
So let me get this right. Regardless of if you're Leeds or if you're Rotherham, the limit's 39 million across the board, and this is accrued over a 3-year period. Is that right?
That's absolutely spot on.
When does the 3 years? Is the 3 years the same for everybody?
Yeah, it's a rolling 3 years, but if you have been relegated from the Premier League, you get 35 million for every year that you were in the Premier League, and 13 for every year in that 3-year period that you were in the Championship.
Right. Okay. Very, very interesting. So from what I can understand, from my layman's knowledge, they've basically broken it originally to get the soft embargo.
That's right. They must have clearly exceeded the limits, and without knowing the intricacies of what's happening in terms of their costs, we can only speculate. But it did look that the losses that they made last year, which were in the region of 30 million, would have pushed them well over the limit, and therefore the EFL said, well, as a result, we're going to give you some sanctions. Other clubs have had them as well. Lots of clubs historically have had transfer bans in the Championship, Blackburn and Leeds and others and so on. And they've taken them and they've applied them. And I think the issue in respect of Birmingham was that they effectively showed contempt for the ruling by signing Pedersen, and this precipitated
But
the more severe punishment.
Kieran, why on earth? I cannot understand why you would sign Christian Pedersen. what were they thinking? Did they just think that they wouldn't be punished? Oh, well, we just got a soft embargo last time. What was the thinking behind signing Pedersen?
Well, I don't know enough about the people at the top of Birmingham. They either completely contemptuous of the EFL, or they thought that any sanction that would be given to them might be perhaps just another transfer ban for the next window. And because he's a very decent player, they thought that he could be the difference between a playoff push and not getting there, and therefore a gamble which was worth taking.
Wow. Yeah, just bizarre behaviour. So, Kieran, what is the kind of precedent for this? Because from what I understand, they could have got a further embargo, they could have got uh, a monetary fine, and am I right, up to 15-point deduction, or am I wrong about that?
Well, the actual number of points seems to be relatively limitless. I think the media were reporting historically in the last couple of months that they expected it to be 12.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at the Birmingham Mail and you take a look at what Blues fans are tweeting and so on, there seems to be a general feeling of great relief that the punishment wasn't any more severe. So the EFL have a broad palette depending upon the nature of the problem, and the extent to which a club has exceeded the 39 million pounds. So if you're a couple of million over, they might say, well, okay, you that was a bit of bad budgeting. If you go and spend 20 million more than the budget or the FFP limit, then the sanctions are likely to be more severe.
So it sounds like their first infraction of the rules was, maybe quite a tight one, and they got the soft embargo. They're a bit more over this time. So am I to understand that if Newcastle hadn't have got promoted with their 112 million pound wage bill and it had gone disastrously wrong, that would be like the most extreme infraction you could do, and they would be embargoed, fined, and presumably deducted 25 points or something.
Well, we don't know, because if Newcastle had gone over the limit last season, remember they'd spent 2 previous years in the Premier League, so therefore
That's
they,
fair.
they brought down 70 million pounds worth of potential losses, and Newcastle actually made a profit in the Premier League, so that they knew that they were probably okay for one season and potentially two.
But do you take
I,
my point, Kieran? For what would they do for a massive infraction then?
I think it would be probably go to the 12 or the 15 points. I mean, Birmingham have overspent money in 2 years out of the last three. I have seen the accounts of their parent company, which is based in Hong Kong, and the losses are coming down a little bit for 2019-20, but not a sorry 2018-19, but not a huge amount. I honestly think that the Pedersen issue is the one which has caused the points deduction to be relatively severe, because this is a club effectively saying, we're going to stick our fingers in our ears and we don't care about the rules. We're going to do whatever we choose to do. And I think that was it was a bad example to send to the rest of the league, and therefore all the other 23 clubs in the championship were monitoring this very carefully, because if Birmingham had got away with signing a player during an embargo, it effectively meant that all of the rules were worthless.
That's really, really interesting. So your view, not trying to put words in your mouth, is they're not totally fudging the figures, but the kind of flagrant nature of just breaking the embargo is what's brought this fine, this points deduction.
Yes, I mean, Birmingham had two issues. They had overspending money due to their recruitment. Their player costs last season £243 for every £100 worth of income, which is no way to run a business. But football is not a business. Football in the
No.
championship, it's we love it because it is so entertaining and controversial. But from a put on my business hat, I just cry. Um, and then there was the second, effectively the second issue, which was the signing of Pedersen, which is effectively saying it's the equivalent of me and you being given a suspended sentence for shoplifting, walking into the local car and helping ourselves to a pack of Pringles.
Kieran, can you speak directly to people like me who are not who don't study this like yourself, who are going to look at the league table and say the EFL have made the punishment fit the most kind of convenient outcome in that if Birmingham had been deducted 15 points, so they would then, that's a further 5 back, they would be on 36 points, they'd be right in a relegation zone. People are going to look at this, maybe wrongly, and say they've just decided a convenient number that punishes Birmingham but doesn't completely screw them. Can you talk to the conspiracy that they've done that, and also why wouldn't they suspend any deduction until next season where it has more of an impact?
I'm inclined to agree with you. Actually, it does seem very strange. Birmingham's playoff push has effectively stalled in the last month. That they were on the edges. Yeah, they're never within a point or two, but they're never far behind. The
Four
nature of
straight
the
defeats now,
championship,
Kieran.
exactly. And you know what it's like in the championship. You win 3 matches in a week, and all of a sudden your prospects change. But I think they're far enough now from the playoffs to not be a serious contender there. And a 12-point deduction would have put them into the mire, and certainly a 15-point would have been even worse. So they weren't going to go up. The 9-point will probably ensure that they don't go down, and they start next season with a clean sheet. So you can see why Birmingham fans, their general reaction is, we're just mightily relieved that the sanction has been at this level.
Where does
Oh,
this leave the next club that makes an infraction then? If, for example, who's spending a lot but may not go up? Aston Villa, for example, losing the playoffs again. Where does it leave them next season, for example, if they make an infraction?
Well, I think the Birmingham ruling will be deemed to be the precedent under the profitability and sustainability rules, which kicked in 2016. So the old rules, which applied to QPR, were effectively ripped up and replaced with these ones, which did allow points deductions. So this is going to be the barometer for future infractions. But what's going to happen is that if the EFL give another club a 6 points fan, everybody's going to be screaming that they've been let off compared to Birmingham. And if they get a 12-point 12-point fine, then everybody will be screaming, well, Birmingham only got a 9-point fine, and they breached the rules significantly by signing a player whilst under infraction. I think it would be really useful for the EFL to come out and give a comprehensive explanation as to how this penalty was decided upon, to give an indication to fans who are the biggest stakeholders in the game, as well as other clubs and everybody else that's interested, who's got a passion in what's happening in the championship, as to what's being going on. My fear is that we'll get a one-page press release, and at the bottom of it will say there will be no further commentary in respect of this action.
Would you agree with me that they've been quite clever? They've put it straight. I mean, if you look at 15 points as 5 games, they've put it right down the middle. So they've given themselves wriggle room either way, and they've got that aggravated breach to fall back on if they say, oh, they've been quite clever here.
I think they think they've been quite clever here. Um, what will happen for future breaches, or perhaps it will act as a suitable deterrent. If I am a club that is thinking about spending extra money, I would now know that the chances are, if that you do exceed the limits, it completely could destroy your playoff chances next season. So if we're talking about the likes of clubs who do appear to have one or two financial issues, we're talking Villa, Derby, Sheffield Wednesday, all of those clubs have been in the news recently in terms of their spending, and two of those are potential playoff contenders. They might think, well, what we don't want to happen is to get to March and then lose, even if it's 6 points, that could really throw a spanner in the works. What does disturb me is that today is March the 22nd. Yeah, we're 6 weeks from the end of the season. This problem we were aware of in August. Why has it taken 7 months for a final decision to be made? Now, I know that lawyers are looking after the best interests of their clients, and I'm sure that Birmingham have taken as much advice from professionals as possible, as have the EFL, but it does appear that the wheels of the the sanctioning process have gone very slowly. That clown who ran onto the pitch and hit Jack Grealish, he was in prison within 48 hours.
Yeah.
Well, why has it taken 8 months for Birmingham City?
Well, and Kieran, that completely plays into any of the conspiracy theories that they've waited till they really, really know what the impact of the outcome will be, and it's affected the least amount of people possible, maybe.
Yeah, if Birmingham had won their last 4 games,
Oh God.
can you imagine what would have happened today when the rule? Because Birmingham say, "Oh, okay, we go from 13th to 17th. We're a reasonable team. We have 5 points ahead with was it 8 9 games
Yeah,
to
they'll be
go.
fine.
We,
Yeah.
yeah, we're fine." So therefore, what is the actual penalty? Because you don't get prize money as such in the Championship for the position in which you finish. It's not like the Premier League. So you finish 18th instead of 13th. Well, nobody's going to lose any sleep over that.
Kieran, absolutely brilliant as always. If you are a Blues fan, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Any fan of any team. Remember, Kieran does this for a living, so do think carefully when you tell him he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about or what have you, because we know people get a bit passionate, but we're really interested to hear people's views, particularly on the severity of the punishment and what the hell happens next. Kieran, thank you so much because, like I say, this is going to be a very busy day for you now, isn't it? Where can we find you on Twitter and your Price of Football stuff?
Well, it's priceoffootball.com on the internet, and it's at Kieran Maguire. If you stick in Price of Football, you'll find me talking nonsense about all 92 clubs. Orient have just published their accounts today, so I'm going to be looking at them at some
Oh,
point in the next 24 hours. Exactly.
and absolutely brilliant follow. Even, I mean, I'm an Ipswich fan, and yesterday Kieran put something out about League One wages. So just by reading one of his tweets now, I kind of know exactly what Ipswich need to spend to basically make themselves fourth favourites in League One straight away. So, Kieran, thank you so much as usual. Everyone, go and hit follow, and yeah, he just does the numbers. He's talking complete facts. So, please be mild in your replies if they don't
Oh,
meet your
I'm fine.
narrative.
I have no opinion on things. I say I just focus on the numbers. Let other people
Absolutely
form the opinions.
brilliant, Kieran. Thank you so much.